Hello everyone, Daniel Kerr here. So today I'm going to talk about a couple of different things. I'm going to try to be brief. I'm going to show you how to build an instrument rack inside of a drum rack that will give you multiple different hits. And a lot of people have covered these things, but first I'm going to get into some sound design. With this next series of videos, I think I'm going to try to cover things that people haven't actually covered. So I'm gonna chop this up. I mean, I'm gonna be making basically a track from scratch starting from today, and I know a lot of people have these my process and creative process videos. I have done a few of those, but it's not super my style. Excuse me. Thing is I'm probably gonna chop this up so that you can narrow in on the parts that you are interested in and that are is relevant to your writing style or what you're doing at this point. So today I'm going to be making some glitchy, I'm going to make some, I guess, Transformers-esque sound design a bit. What I've done is I've grabbed a couple of clips from movies. I have some car crashes, listen. I have some fights. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I guess I'll start with the car crashes. They're very easy to get good sounds out of. So you can do a lot of these at home with a microphone. You can smash some glass or, rub metal together, do lots of things. Silverware. But for the sake of efficiency, I'm just going to use what we have here. So let me find a good hit. Let me zoom in here and find a good hit. Let's see. That's decent. I don't want a lot of horns. Okay. That's good tire screech. Let's see. Actually, I like this one. So just for the sake of getting this done quickly, I'm just going to grab this piece here. And I'm going to Control L to loop, right click, I'm in the envelope section, go to sample, right click and crop sample, and that's it. I'm going to zoom, yeah, so it starts. I'm going to grab a piece of this, Control D will duplicate. I'm going to make this black and Control X, I'm in track 6, I'm going to hit the tab and go into track 6 here. And I'm going to hit this little red arrow there that will cause this to play. Okay, first thing I'm going to do with this guy is I'm going to render it the way it is because there's a little bit of stuff. So Control J will consolidate it. Then I'm going to reverse it. Okay. Okay, I like that. I'm going to take a couple of those. I'm going to drag this one down here for safekeeping and turn that track off. Okay. This guy here, I think I'm going to add, I'm going to try to keep using Ableton stock stuff today as much as possible. Not a bunch of plugins because I want everybody to be able to do this. I dragged a reverb onto this reversed track. I'm going to change the quality to high quality. I'm going to change the decay time to about 11 seconds and turn it all the way wet. But no, I'm going to turn it all the way off. And then right at the very end here, you can see the automation. I'm going to crank it up. Now listen, I'll start right here. Okay, hear the big tail. I'm actually going to make it even more abrupt at the end. And I'm going to freeze this track. When you freeze a track, it renders the track into audio. I've talked about this before. So what I'm going to do is freeze the track, and then I'm going to flatten. And I think this guy needs to be recolored so that I can distinguish it. And I'm going to stretch this guy over here a bit. And I'm going to pull, well, I thought that I flattened this. Yeah, I did. Okay, wait, how is that possible? It's still showing me the reverb here, but there is no reverb in the audio effects. So I don't know how that's possible. Anyway, I'm going to drag this down here. It should have the reverb imprinted on it now if I stretch it out. So we'll do that and listen. Oh, turn it on. No. Nope. Okay, I've got to figure out what I did here. Okay. Oh, I used, instead of using, yeah. Okay. I don't know how that happened, but somehow I was using my send and return tracks. So from here, let's get rid of this thing. And show automation. There it is. And let's scroll in. Give me some reverb. Much, much better. And this time, when I freeze track, boom, and flatten, there it is. Pull this to the side here, bring this guy down, get rid of that little dude there. Let's listen. Okay, this guy I'm going to reverse. Now you should hear the tails coming in. Listen. Okay, I wish it had a little bit of impact there. Let's flip this dude around. And let's paste this guy up in here. Okay, I could even add a little kick drum or some stuff in there, but I'm not going to at this point. I'm going to group these two tracks together, okay, which is select them both and hit Control G. Now it's a group. I can add one effect to both at the same time, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over here to the audio effects. I'm going to grab the corpus, okay. I'm going to drag that sucker on here. One thing that you'll notice is that I don't have a grid selected. That is relevant to this process, but not right now. So let's listen to this. Okay, I'm going to change this from beam to pipe or tube. I'll do tube this time. And let me take the dry and wet, and I want to see that automation. Okay, so I can see it here. And I want to pull that down to about no more than 7. I got it at 6.3%. We'll call that good at this point. Okay, hear this, see this tune? Listen to this. Alright, that resonance, and it bends the pitch of the resonance down. It sounds fantastic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see this automation first, and starting from where it's at, I'm going to make this guy bend down to 0. Okay, and at the same time, this automation, which is the dry wet, I'm going to make that bend down to 0 about here. And let's listen for a second. I'll mess around with the decay and radius of this tube resonance. Listen. Okay, I got that. Now I'm going to hit Control T to give myself another track, turn off the audio, external in. I'm going to record a resample from group 6. Okay, and starting from the top, about right here, let's let that happen. Long reverb tail coming in reverse. Okay, and this guy is all we need at this point. If I flip this over, I will ungroup these guys so that we can, well, I'll get rid of this one because I don't need it anymore. and we no longer have the corpus on the group because there's no group that exists. So let's see what happens when we change this, the warp algorithm, from beats, which relies on transients, and we only have one, to complex, which is granular. It takes tiny, tiny little pieces and loops them to stretch, and we'll stretch it out. And let's transpose it up an octave. And let's add a little filter on it too to dumb it down a little bit. I've changed the rate of the LFO, turned the LFO to 30, left the phase the way that it was at, and changed the shape of the LFO wave to random. Okay? Make it, gonna make it sync to quarter notes. Quarter beats, rather. That's a little too much. I'm gonna turn it down. In fact, I'm going to change it back to sine and make it really slow. Okay, bring this guy up here, and I am going to resample again. This time resampling, which is going to give me the sum of both of those notes, and I'm going to start here. Okay, as you can see, make that yellow. As you can see, I have some pretty good sound design going on here in a very short amount of time. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to render this, and we'll call it, I'll just put it, export, go slow. I'll put it in FX Design Samples, and we'll call it FX1. Okay, where are you, FX Design Samples? Just want to make sure I know where you're at. I think it's on the desktop, but we'll just make sure. Oh, I can't see. I had a lot of crap up here. Yep, there it is. Okay, so we'll put it in there, and we'll save it. Okay, now I'm going to, I'll be right back. I'm going to open up a new project. Okay. Actually, I'm not. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. And Control N. No. Okay, now what I want to show you is something sweet. All right, we're going to drag a drum rack down. Let's go to Instruments, and I'll drag a drum rack over. And now we have a drum rack. I'm going to go back into Instruments over here, and I'm going to drag in, well, let's see. Let's go to the C note, C4. I'm going to drag an instrument rack down to C4, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my desktop, and let's just say that you made a whole bunch, up to 128 of those effects that I just showed you, okay? So if I go to my desktop, and in Cinema Effects, which these are all ones that I made before, right? A bunch of movie type effects and stuff made in Contact and whatnot. But if I drag a bunch of these, let's just grab 10. You can, like I said, you can drag up to 128 and drop them into your instrument rack inside of your drum rack, right? Then you open up the chain and you show basically all of the effects or whatever samples you just dragged. If you hit Control A, it'll select them all, and you can grab this little arrow here, or a little blue area, and pull it out. And then you can right click and it'll say distribute ranges equally, right? So now when you hit the note, you're hearing one, or the other, or the other, or the other, or the other. Okay, so now you can take this area up here and right click and map that to macro 1. And then macro 1, you can map to macro 1 of the actual drum rack itself, and we're going to rename this, and Control R, and we're going to call this Effects Selector. Yep. So now, as we listen, we have one of the effects over here, and we can just scroll through here. Okay. Another thing we can do is we can select one of these guys, right, and go over to the device. And I like to trigger it once and have the release go all the way. So we can change the release. All right, the heater just kicked on my microphone. Sorry about that. It's the middle of the night and the heater comes off and on. Anyway, so I've changed the release all the way up. And if I right click, I can say copy value to siblings 9. So now every time all of these, when I trigger them once, the whole thing, the whole thing changes, right? Or the whole thing plays, sorry, from beginning to end. Right? Most of them aren't that long, okay? So that's loosely how you set up a drum rack like this, right? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this whole channel, and I'm going to show you a drum rack that I made that has 375 hits in it, right? And the drum rack that I made, the one I made is called 2017 for March 2017. As you can see, I have a February one as well, but that one I've never released. I am going to sell this, right? And it's going to be I think $12, and you can find it in the description. You can find the eBay listing for it right now. But what I did with this guy, and I'm going to drag it over here so you can check it out. Doom, ba-doom, ba-doom. Anytime now. Loading, loading. See, the 375 samples. That's a lot of samples. So it's going to load. The thing is there's 2 kick drums. And actually, there's 2 effects in there. There's a kick drum, a snare drum. There is hats 1, hats 2. There's percussion and orchestral, right? And the orchestral ones are my small orchestral collection that I made for Electribe Sampler, right? And it is, if I go to that one, you can check it out. It's got flute, a couple of flutes, trumpets. It's got bass and tuba, right? These are all stabs, okay? And they all play in C. In fact, let me play one. Okay, that's the flute, right? That's a low flute. If I go to, well, I have to use the... Right. So I got my effects. I have kicks. I have snares. I have hats and percussion, right? So what I'm going to do is demonstrate how this works and show you how you can add some random stuff with the same thing that I just showed you. Okay, so let me get this guy going. Let's start with some hats, I guess. Okay. And some kicks. Okay, and I'm gonna and some percussion. effects. In fact, what I'm going to do is okay, and I'll give one orchestral step. Okay, that's all I need. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut this all down, and I'm going to, well, let's see. I'm going to hide a lot of this stuff to make it more accessible, so I can see what's going on. Right. And then I'm going to go to Max for Live, okay? And in the Max Audio Effects, you can see there are a couple of LFO tools, and I can drag these guys down here, all right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one of them, and I'm going to make the rate very, very slow. I'm going to make it 0.01 hertz, right? So it's very, very slow. I'm going to map that to Effects Select 1. Okay, and then I'm going to select this LFO tool and Control D to duplicate it. And on the new one, I'm going to remove that mapping. I'm going to map that guy to FX2, right? And then I'm going to duplicate that. And I'm going to map this dude. Remove that. I'm going to map this guy to orchestral selection, and I think I'm going to do one more, and I'm going to Control D, going to remove that mapping, and I'm going to map that to percussion selection. Okay, now also when I go down here and I look at my different racks, right, on the percussion, I want that to have a bit of reverb. So I'm going to go back to Audio Effects, and I'm going to, if you see, notice how I have all these things open. If you double click any of these, it closes them all up, just so you know. I'm going to drag a reverb over to the percussion, and that's going to show up over here. Actually, I'm going to have to select that to see it. Okay, I'm going to give this guy a huge tail, right? Well, pretty big, 11 seconds or so. Change it to a high quality, and I'm going to bring the dry wet down. So now let's hear it. Yeah, that's good enough. I'll get rid of that. And these guys, I'm going to leave the one, a sine wave, the way it is. I'm going to leave the second one, Effects 2 Select, LFO tool, and I'm going to make that one just a little bit quicker so that it's selecting a different one than the first one. The last one, I don't want any repetition here. I'm going to change that one to random. And this guy here, I'm going to change to random as well, and I'm going to make that one a little bit faster and maybe open up the jitter. Now let's listen. I'm going to make my snare drum a little louder. Oh, actually, that was a bad move. And the reason why is because it's you gotta find out which one is being triggered. There it is. Okay, so you can hear already. Transpose it up a bit. See, that's the beauty of these racks that I make, or anything that you make, is because is that we can really make everything unique. You can add different effects to each one of these. You can add 2 or 3 different renditions of this. In fact, I can grab the whole channel and do Control D and duplicate everything on this channel so that it plays twice. I can change the speed of these things. It's just really, really fantastic. I'm waiting for it to duplicate, by the way. Yeah, there it is. Okay, let's listen to both of them at once. Actually, how about on this one, if I change and grab a few random selections that make them a little different. Okay, let's listen. Notice that the that the volume clips on both of these. So what I'm going to do is grab everything, select Control A, bring it down a bit. Okay, let's I'll grab audio samples. I made some 8-bit drum loops. I call them new loops, but they're not new anymore. Let me grab a couple of those 8-bit breaks, and I'm gonna bring this guy down here. Yeah, I'll throw that in here, and then maybe. That's pretty heavy. Let's listen to these. I want the orchestral pieces that are grabbed to be different, so I'm going to go to orchestral select here. I'm going to change the rate of this guy. Let's try again. There we go, that's some variation. So yeah, you can grab this thing for 12 bucks in the description. Also, if you want the effects samples that I showed earlier, not the ones that are included in this rack, but the other cinematic effects, those ones are for free. So yeah, go ahead and grab those out of the description as well. You do have to go through a SoundCloud or YouTube Lightgate to get there, but that's just because I'm trying to build an email list, and so I hope everybody understands that joint. So yeah, go ahead and grab those out of the description, and you can follow me on SoundCloud /SnowMetal. You can follow me on Facebook /SnowMetal. And I hope you learned something. I hope everybody is going to implement this stuff. I hope everybody's looking forward to spring. Anyway, love you guys. Hope everything is well for you.